Welcome to my video. This is Eckogen. I'll be covering the mechanics of the final boss in Cathedra Cliffs. The attack rotation and special attack will be outlined in the video description. Mechanics happen at 80% and 40%, or at least they're supposed to. You'll see the message preparing to dive bomb. It does a room-wide AoE, iframe, followed by a room-wide suction. You cannot iframe the suction. So there's the AoE, suction, F-roll. Note the positioning. Tank is at 2 o'clock. 4 people for feathers. They will group up in 2 pairs of 2. 1 pair at 6 o'clock. Other pair at 9 o'clock. And both pairs are standing 13 meters away from the boss. Everyone else in melee range. The boss will throw 4 feathers at the furthest 4 players in the order of furthest to closest. The feathers will daze, so be sure to block or iframe them. When the boss lands, it spawns 2 puddles at either 2 and 8 or 4 and 10. So here are the puddles. In this case, they spawned at 4 and 10 o'clock. Within each pair of the feather rolls, 1 from each will be a cleanser. Cleansers from each pair touch a puddle, and this gives them a wrath debuff and displays a lightning effect around them. The wrath debuff lasts for 25 seconds and causes death upon expiry. You can remove the debuff by touching a feather. So define which feather group is doing what mechanic in the next part of this phase. For us, we have the blue star here. This is the cleanser, and this is group 1. The blue square, this is the cleanser, and they are group 2. So group 1 cleanser is heading over. They will grab their puddle. This gives them the cleansing effect. They will go back and touch a feather. So when you have the cleansing effect and you touch a feather, that removes the feather and drops the cleansing effect on that spot. That can then be picked up again to cleanse the second feather. And since both feathers were stacked at group 1's location, it only had to be done once because both of them instantly got cleansed. Now whenever you cleanse a feather, the boss will receive 1 stack for each feather cleansed. This stack lasts for 15 seconds. It will enrage at 4 stacks in easy, 3 stacks in hard. Now over here, the cleanser from group 2, they picked up their puddle and they're DPSing the boss and they're waiting. They do not cleanse their 2 feathers just yet. And it's important that you pick up the puddles immediately, because if you don't, they will explode and trigger any nearby feathers, and that will cause the feathers to cleanse, and then you'll probably get too many stacks. Now the boss is going to far mark. So we had the person from group 2, the other person, not the cleanser. They are far mark, so they went furthest to get the far mark. They will get dazed, and then the 2 feathers here will form a line with them. Once the feathers fly towards them, they will be undazed. And then keep an eye on what they do here. And then the boss CC will also open up. So we did knockdowns. It gives the far mark a little bit of time. So here's the far mark. They're undazed. They go through the boss over to the other side to get far mark again. So the boss is going to far mark again. And it does this volley of arrow attack. The reason you want this attack faced this direction is because if it hits any feathers on this side, it's going to cleanse the feathers and then you'll have too many stacks. And plus no one is standing in this direction. So that's why the far mark went over there to bait the attack. Once it's at 2 seconds here for the stack, the cleanser from group 2, since they're holding the Wrath debuff, their timer is ticking down. Now they can finally go over here to their 2 feathers and cleanse that. The boss is now going to do a 7-meter spin attack followed by a 14-meter spin attack. During the first spin, he's going to drop 2 more feathers at the 2 furthest. So any 2 people can go furthest to make sure that they get the 2 new feathers. So 2 pillars will spawn. The boss flies up into the air and will toss down a spear opposite to the pillars. The pillar spawning location will be RNG. And then the boss is going to fire lightning attacks at the tank. They're directed towards the tank in like a 180 sort of field. The attacks are random, but they're telegraphed. So just make sure that these attacks don't hit any feathers, and they shouldn't be because there shouldn't be any feathers on the tank's side. Now, with the 2 pillars, they're going to have a timer on them. The timer starts from 3 seconds and it counts down. When it gets to 1, it explodes. So you want to stealth or iframe that, as it will blind you. The 2 cleansers will position themselves in between the pillar to the boss. After the explosion, there's going to be an orb where the pillar used to be. This orb will travel towards the boss. So the cleansers will block the orbs ASAP. And here are the lightning attacks. The boss is dropping towards the tank here. Once the blockers block the orbs, a yellow line will form between them. Now remember earlier there were 2 feathers that were spawned during the spin attack. So this line must not ever touch the boss. That will cause an enrage. Nor can they touch the feathers. I'm pretty sure they can't touch the feathers. So the blockers then need to move this line together, and each of them will touch a feather. So see how they bring it over here. They each touch a feather. That will cleanse the 2 feathers here. And now the line becomes red. So then they will move together again and bring the line over to the spear. So as long as the red line is on the spear, keep it on there until the line disappears. The spear will turn red. As soon as the boss is done firing the lightning AoEs, it will pull the spear. If mechanics were done correctly, the spear deals mech damage. And then that will end the phase with a room-wide AoE attack. That's a 3-hit. So you want to Moon block that or sheath that. So now it's going to phase 2. AoE, suction, F-roll. Now, for phase 2, it's a minor difference. So there's going to be 6 feathers instead of 4. Everyone will get a feather, so move away from the boss to place them. So keep feathers on the left side of the room. Never place feathers under or near the boss. Out of the 6 feathers, we placed one around like 10 o'clock here, so where I'm standing. And then one between 2 and 4 o'clock. So look over here. There's a feather being placed right there. And you'll see why. It will spawn 4 puddles. So we use the 2 cleansers from before. So the 1 cleanser over here will pick up this puddle. They will then run to the feather over here that they spawned. They will cleanse that, and then they will grab the last puddle over here. Cleanser number 2, they picked up the puddle over here. They're cleansing the feather that I dropped over here. And then they're picking up the puddle over here. So the people doing puddles have to do this very quick, otherwise the second puddles may explode. So movement speed is recommended or a class that is mobile. Now the boss is going to far mark. So we had the other person from group 2 doing far mark. There should be 4 feathers. So these 4 feathers are now going to form a line to the far mark over here. You need 2 people to block any 2 lines. Because if you have 4 feathers flying into the far mark, they will die, and that will cause the boss to lose target and they'll enrage. 2 feathers is fine. And when I say block, you just body block. So being in the line, standing in the line is enough to block the feathers from reaching the far mark. Now the CC will be up, so we did knockdown. Far mark is now running over here to the same spot before to bait the attack. It does the volley of arrows. Remember, you want to direct it this way, so it's not going to hit any of the feathers over here on this side. Now it's going to do its spin attack again, so 7 meter spin followed by a 14 meter spin. Only difference here is we have the 2 cleansers from before. So remember, they picked up the second puddle, meaning they still have the debuff because they haven't cleansed anything yet because there's 4 feathers over here. So they're going to stand at 13 meters. And remember, during the first spin, it's going to throw another 2 feathers at the furthest 2. So since these 2 are the furthest and they have the debuff, it's going to instantly cleanse those 2 feathers. Alright, so it's dropping the pillars. Remember, the pillars will count down from 3 seconds and it will explode and blind, so you want stealth for that or some sort of iframe so you don't get blinded. And then there's the spear that it's throwing down. So the cleansers are getting in between the boss and the pillars. They're getting ready to block the orbs. The boss is now firing lightning AoEs towards the tank, so you want to keep it directed on this side here away from the feathers, because if the lightning AoEs hit any of the feathers, that will cleanse the feathers. Once the cleansers block the orbs, a line will form. Remember to keep the line away from the boss. Don't touch the boss with a line. And then they will go over here and each of them will touch a feather. Since there's 4 feathers, it doesn't matter which 2 feathers they pick. It does not matter at all. Once they each step on a feather, their line will become red. They use that line to cut the spear. So the spear will now be red, and that leaves behind 2 feathers. That's fine, you can ignore them. And since the spear is now red, it will pull the spear, and that will deal mech damage. So that's the mechanics for the last boss in Cathedra Cliffs. Knowing the mechanics for both phases in easy mode will make you set for hard mode, as second and third phases in hard mode are also 6 feathers. As usual, I will include the mechanics and notes for what causes wipes in the video description, as I do for all my videos. As always, my social links will be in the video description. Be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please ask. Peace out.